Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're rolling. What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Nicolaou, and today in the chair with the barber, I've got founder of Adaptability, life coach and mentor, Andria Andreou. And as you can see, she's super happy to be here.
Of course.
You're right, yeah?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Right. So, Andria, from speaking to you recently with the Attract Abundance Instagram page and your views on certain things, I'm quite impressed. And no offense, because there's quite a few people of your age whose heads are actually in the clouds a lot of the time.
No, I agree.
Tell us about yourself and what you've got going on with all of this.
So I started Attract Abundance last year in February. It was something I was thinking about since around 2017. When I started university, I was in quite a toxic relationship, and that came to an end, and I've always suffered with anxiety as well. I went to counselling, I went to see my GP, and nothing really helped. So it was recommended to me to read The Secret. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I heard of it maybe 12 years ago. It's nothing I've read. I've never read it.
So it was recommended to me. I do recommend it. It is really good, and it's obviously all based on the law of attraction.
Right.
And I just found a passion for it, and because I managed to change my life around and I was seeing so many results, I thought, how can I help other people and take this? So then I did a life coaching course online within my own time. And because I studied business and management, I studied quite a lot of psychology modules and things like that. So I've got quite a decent understanding of the human mind and how we react towards things and stuff like that. And through my own personal experience, I thought I want to set up a page where people can come to, where there's information there, and if they want that extra support, it's available to them for me to coach and mentor them. But I just wanted to build a community. I think one thing I've found within myself and a lot of other people is that we're afraid to speak up about our issues, and a lot of the time we suppress the way we feel because of pride, because we're too scared or one thing or another, and it's not healthy. I think being Greek as well, we're stubborn, we don't like to show that we're sensitive and we've got emotion, but it's not healthy.
So what was it about the toxic relationship you were in that you feel was brought you down so much that you needed counselling?
I think it was a lot of things at the time. I think I felt I had a low self-esteem within myself, and I think I started to take that out on the relationship because I'd moved away from home into a flat. I was on my own and I was constantly with him day in, day out. He was my support network, and we were on and off for 7 years. So I got with him at quite a young age, and I think at the time I put the blame on him. But taking my insecurities, I used to start arguments, I used to get really paranoid, and it just wasn't healthy. For me, I think when you're in a relationship with someone, they should come in and they should complement your life. They should obviously they're going to love you, but the love you give yourself needs to be stronger. That person's just there as almost a partnership. I depended on my ex a lot, and you get into that cycle, and it just needed to be broken. But through healing myself and doing the self-work, I found out that it wasn't actually him making me insecure. I was allowing certain things to happen, and I was allowing my mind to think in a certain way and focusing on the fear of what I didn't want rather than what I actually wanted. And I found I was doing it with a lot of different areas of my life. It wasn't just the relationship.
So a lot of insecurities stem from when we're kids,
Yeah,
and a lot of it is things that certain people tell us when we're kids. A lot of it is things that we hear at school. It's things that we tell ourselves. Do you feel like, had you been in a better state of mind and not so insecure, the relationship wouldn't have been the problem that it was?
definitely. I mean, I got bullied when I was younger. I actually have a learning disability, so I've got dyspraxia.
Right.
So growing up, I always felt very different from everybody else. I was very shy. It took me twice as long to do everything. I had a tremor growing up as well. So whereas everyone was really fast and good at sports, it showed my imperfections almost, and I
Okay.
felt exposed.
Right.
So I think naturally through that, I got into the habit of closing up and almost putting a shell over myself, whereas I didn't realise we all have strengths and weaknesses, and it wasn't until I grew older and I was in kind of sixth form and I thought, okay, I want to go to university, I want to do this, that I thought, I'm going to battle this. I'm not going to let the fact that I do have dyspraxia stop me from getting where I want to go in life.
Right. So when it comes to insecurities and relationships, the two don't go well together, right?
Not really.
Now, a lot of people, I'd say most people have insecurities somewhere. The insecurities aren't so much of a problem depending on how you deal with them. But there's a lot of people with insecurities that seem to get into relationships and hope that the relationship is going to solve the problem,
Yeah.
when usually it doesn't. And the other problem is, if that other person you're getting into a relationship with also has big insecurities,
Yeah.
you're going to clash as opposed to grow together.
You almost put that person on a pedestal and everything becomes about them, but it's not. And don't get me wrong, there are very toxic relationships where people have been abused and everything, but you have to come from, there's nothing excusing that, but your insecurities are your insecurities, and it's how you move past that. You need to allow yourself to be hurt and feel the way that you feel in order to release it. If you don't feel it, you're never going to release it. And people struggle to put the blame on themselves sometimes. Like me and my ex both did wrong to each other. I'm not going to sit here and be like it was all him, but I feel like one thing we do within relationships is we go back to our friends and we're like, oh, he did this, he did that, or she did this, she did that, and it creates more of that momentum rather than, I've always said that's the truth, there's your side and there's their side.
Right.
And you need to balance that sometimes, and sometimes you need to talk to yourself and give yourself that pep talk and be like, okay, yes, he did this, but how did I attract that? What was in my mind in that moment of time for me to allow it or to attract it? Because ultimately we're the ones who hold the power. It's all in the power of the mind. We're the ones who have this blank canvas to create the lives that we want, and a lot of people don't realize it. We just give the power to other people all the time.
I think a lot of people, like you said earlier, are too scared to admit it, and they're too scared to dwell upon it, because what happens is you've got to go through like a period of feeling bad to understand why you're feeling it.
Yeah,
And like you said, what's caused it and all those other things. And so many people seem to be scared of doing that, that they just kind of ignore it and hope it's going to go away, when the scenario itself might go away, but the problems that cause that scenario are still there. And if anything, they're probably going to get worse.
yeah. It's easy to say this is easier just to ignore, but with anything in life, no matter what destination you pick, you can't always pick what journey you're going to go on or what route you're going to go on.
Right.
And the one thing people don't understand is pain is inevitable. There's always going to be pain along the way. But whether you struggle, I think, is a choice, and it's all to do with the way we react to stuff. It's like with what's going on in the world today, we're all reacting as the world, as a community, towards something, because it's our reaction, and it's our reaction that's having the power to create things that are happening.
Right. So what I think is important to be said is that if everybody was in complete control of themselves and their reactions,
Yeah.
you wouldn't need to worry about the world, because if everybody's controlling it, then everything will be under control.
Yeah.
You know, and there's only so much that you can control yourself, but there's so many outside problems that we can't control. And a lot of the problems that are going on in the world now, I understand people want change, but there's certain things you have to just understand that you have no control over. And the faster you understand that, the easier it is to come to terms with the peace inside yourself.
It's learning to accept things in any situation. And I read a quote the other day, and it said only 1% of the problem is the actual situation. 99% of the problem is the way that you react to it. And it's like when people get hate comments, it's a simple one to understand. You can either look at that and think, oh, okay, carry on with your life, or you can look at it and then start over analysing yourself and allowing it to get to you personally. You make that choice, whereas yeah, it might hurt you, but then whether you choose to suffer, that's in your hands. It's not in their hands.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to, and I've said this for years, that everything seems to be perception. You know, whatever happens is whatever it is. The way that you take it into your mind and develop it is how you're going to view it. If you internalize it to be something bad, it's going to be bad.
It is like attracts like, and this is what I want to share with the world. Our minds are consciously creating our lives all the time with our thoughts and feelings, but as humans, because we're so prone to focusing on what we don't want and the fear, we're just magnifying the actual situation that we don't want. Whereas when we focus on the things that we do want and we develop feelings of more gratitude and love, then we start to see our lives shift. And it doesn't happen overnight either. Like, my journey's been a roller coaster. There's times I've been like, okay, I've got this, and it's been really good. And then I stem back into, I can't do this anymore. And that's okay. Like, no one's telling you be positive 100% of the time, but it's important to identify what you're feeling in order to move past it.
What I find interesting is a lot of people have maybe had a bit of a tough life or a tough situation, and it's easier for them to just blame other things instead of saying, you know what, that was a bad situation, but I don't have to be a victim to this, and I'm going to do something about it.
It's all about breaking generational cycles as well, like the way we're all brought up. Because society changes as well, the way we raise our kids is going to be different, but then something could happen when our kids are growing up to make change, and then something else will change. Like, as long as you understand that change is inevitable, then you need to stop blaming other people, because you're the one who holds the control. Whether someone's done you really wrong or not, whether you carry that with you throughout your life is your choice. It's not their choice. Ultimately, you're saying, you dictate my life here, have the power.
Right. And like you say, I think it's a willingness to adapt.
Yeah.
If you're so set in your ways and something, you know, that you weren't expecting happens, it's going to throw you off. And I think a lot of the time, if you've got the core elements of understanding that you are in control of your own life, because as long as you can power your thoughts, you know, you can maneuver around a situation. If people really understood that, I think that they'd find things a lot easier to deal with, as
Yeah,
opposed to just lashing out when something doesn't go their way.
definitely. And sometimes it's all part of the process as well, because we need to learn and we need to grow. And I always say to myself, every loss is a gain, because I've learned something from it. And the pain we go through is a gain, because it makes us stronger. It only adds to us as a human. It doesn't actually take anything away from us unless we allow it to. But because we're so stuck on that emotion of being frustrated or angry or upset at what it's done, we fail to recognise how it can actually help us and make us better people.
Right. And the interesting about everything we go through is, I see it as, I may need it to go through that to help other people
Yeah,
in the future that
definitely.
also come through it, you know. And what's interesting with you is that, how old, 22?
Yeah,
22 is a young age, but if you've internalized things to be a bit more of a problem than maybe somebody else has that's older than you, you
yeah,
may have a better understanding than that person. It doesn't always come with age, it comes with experience,
yeah, I agree.
situations, understanding. Andrea, is there a common theme in conversations that you have with people about the law of attraction and this kind of stuff? Is there specific things that people want to know more than something else?
I think people tend to get stuck on the how does it happen? And this is
Right.
where a lot of people mess up, because we only pick our destination. And this is what I have to tell myself constantly. If I'm trying to manifest a job, for example, and I'm applying for loads of jobs but nothing's coming, I have to tell myself there's divine timing, and we can't always pick the time. It's like when you plant a seed, you need to water and nurture that seed until it grows and it blossoms. And a lot of people get stuck on the how and why isn't it happening. And when you fall into that trap, I've seen it with a lot of clients as well, and they've constantly come back to me, but there's only so much I can teach, because ultimately they're the ones that actually do the work and bring the circumstance and the desire that they want into their life. But when you get stuck on the how and when, ultimately you're doubting the universe, and it's that projection of fear, and
Right.
whatever you're projecting you will receive.
I think it reminds me of like a kid trying to ride a bike
Yeah,
and they're too scared to take the stabilizers off.
yeah,
Now, if you don't take the stabilizers off, you're never really going to learn to ride the bike, you know?
yeah,
And people don't have enough faith. I'm more religion than I am, I'm more God than I am universe, right?
yeah.
But I feel like there's a certain amount of faith you need to have for this stuff to
Oh,
happen.
definitely. But then as well, when I say the universe, I just use it because it's a more neutral term
Right, yeah,
than saying God, but ultimately it's a higher source of energy. So you can refer, if I was coaching you, for example, you'd refer to that higher source of energy as God. It's all energy. It's like we have different terms for God in different religions, but
right.
ultimately it's a higher source of energy, not on this earth. We don't see it, but we feel it.
Yeah, and I think people feel like they have to be in complete control when a
Yeah,
lot of the times you just do what you do and the other things will come, you know. But
definitely.
if you get into a cycle of beating yourself up about something that isn't happening, then you're just going to start to make things worse.
I think one thing people don't realise either is we speak things into existence. It doesn't just stop, we're constantly creating. And a lot of people don't even realise it. My mum, for example, whenever we go shopping, she's like, I always find a parking space. I've never not found one. But she's got that belief in her head, and that in itself is an affirmation.
Yeah.
So she's ultimately manifested that. It's like when people keep saying, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke, and you'll see them and they don't have money, but they're continuously saying that they're broke and they're feeling broke. So how can you gain anything from that if you're not shifting your energy to be like, I'm financially fulfilled?
It's funny because if you're telling somebody this for the first time and they've never heard it,
Yeah.
it sounds a bit bullshit. Like,
No, it does. I remember my friends, when I first split up with my ex, I wanted to manifest him back.
right.
I remember my friends, I was young, I remember my friends thinking, you're crazy, you are, how are you doing all of this? But I was manifesting different things at the time, like my uni grades. I manifested quite a bit of money as well, and different opportunities. And then I kind of let go of the idea after a bit, because I thought, what am I doing? Like, I'm manifesting someone, like, this is ridiculous, like, I need to stop. And my dad had just had a stroke at the time, and I put my focus more towards that. I was like, I want to try and heal him. And I remember it was coming up to my birthday, and it was in February, and I was like to myself, okay, I want my dad to have a home visit. I want him to come back home because he was in rehab. And I was at the hospital, and we had the doctor's meetings, and they told us in 2 weeks he can come back home. And I was literally like over the moon. Nothing else could have happened to like make me feel any happier, because it was what I wanted. And then that day, my ex had actually unblocked me on WhatsApp as well and posted a story. But the day before, I used to work in Tesco, and people I used to speak to, like, were coming in that day, and I was like to my friend, something isn't right, like, something's gonna happen. And I said as a joke, it's so and so coming back into my life, and I said it an hour before I'd seen that he'd unblocked me. And it just goes to show, my friends were like, what the hell, like, we thought you were going loopy or something. But because it was making you happy, like doing the law of attraction and like reading up on it and stuff, like, we just didn't say anything. They'd say it, but they'd make a joke out of it. And now I've managed to help my friends through it. I've managed to help people around the world through it. And when you look at clients, it's going to sound bizarre to people who don't know about the law of attraction, but 9 out of 10 of my clients will come to me because they want to manifest a specific person. And people have done it, but then in that, one of the things you need to do when you're manifesting is letting go. So if you've not fully healed yourself and you're coming out of a place of desperation and you're saying, I need this, I need that, you're not going to get it. And that's where people slip as well, because they'll do all the work and get the desire, but then they'll lose it again because they don't continue the work. If you're going to choose to use the law of attraction, it needs to become a lifestyle. It's something that you consistently need to do.
I think that it's having the confidence to let go.
Yeah.
And being confident in yourself, because what seems to happen is, if, let's say, there's somebody that you want back, a lot of the time, the way that human interaction and relationships work is, if you drive somebody away, you may have been driving them away because some toxic stuff that you were doing, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're confident in yourself and you let go, a lot of the times they'll come back because of...
Everyone always comes back.
Because of the fact that you have let go, and now people are like, oh shit, they've left me alone. So now they're chasing what they don't have.
I definitely think we project energy and people feel our energy. I mean, in the past, someone's gone to me, your energy seems different. Are you seeing someone? And I've looked at them and I've gone, no, what are you on about? And it's it changes you when you have self-love and you really heal yourself and you're just focused on you. It changes you because you're just focused on yourself, and everything else just comes. And
Right.
people lose that as soon as they get what they want. They're like, okay, I'll go back to how I was. And I've done it a million times, hence why my relationship was on and off, whereas now I've been like, okay, I need to focus on me now. Like, I'm 22, even though I'm still young, I don't want to be in this repetitive cycle, because it is toxic. And it's not just toxic with my relationship, because it's the way I'm constantly thinking and acting. It creates other aspects of my life to downfall as well, and it's just not healthy.
I think when you've got a certain confidence about you naturally as a person,
Yeah,
a lot of people want to be around it, and things do find themselves coming to you because of that. So I guess it is energy. I always believe that you do need a certain amount of confidence. And what I find interesting about this, going back to what we were saying before, is although it sounds like it is bullshit if nobody's ever heard of it before, there's so many successful people that have always spoke their success into existence.
yeah,
And affirmations is a big thing. And I don't do what a lot of people that study the law of attraction do, where I'll read a certain amount of affirmations every day.
yeah,
However, I feel like mine became a lot more natural in the sense that I don't have a big list of things, but throughout my day, I'll repeat certain things.
yeah.
And can
That's
you,
the best way to do it though, when it comes natural to you, because a lot of the times people find it difficult to do any sort of affirmation. It's like when I'm teaching self-love, a lot of people find it weird at first, because it's not drilled into them, and until you do it consistently, it's very difficult to be like, okay, I need to do this in the morning, this in the afternoon, this in
right,
the evening. Whereas when you naturally do it, this is why a lot of people use the law of attraction subconsciously and they don't know it, because we all use it. Because there's people who will tell you, oh, I know I'm going to become a footballer, I know I'm going to do this,
right.
and that in itself is energy. You're speaking something into existence, you're affirming something.
There could be people watching that have no idea what an affirmation is. Can you explain what it is and why it works?
So an affirmation is a statement. So for example, if you wanted to receive more money, you could say, I am receiving £5,000 per month, and you'd repeatedly, say that throughout the day. A lot of people use a technique called scripting, where they'll write it out a certain number of times each day. Some people will record themselves and play it to themselves over and over again. There's one of the most popular affirmation is I am affirmation. So people will say I am loved, to increase their self-confidence and self-love for themselves. And what should happen, because you drill it into your brain, ultimately over a certain period of time, you start to feel and think that way, and it naturally just becomes a part of you. The human mind picks up a habit in 21 days. So if you consistently do something for 21 days, then it should just become natural for you.
Right. So one of the affirmations I think I've grown up doing, and it's weird because I sussed this out without ever hearing of the law of
Yeah,
attraction. It was just something that just made sense to me from when I was a teenager. And I've told people in the barbershop this so many times when I'm trying to give somebody a confidence boost. I always said to them that in my head over the years, I probably don't do it so much now because I don't feel like I need it so much now.
yeah,
But I'd say to myself that I'm confident. And naturally, what happens is, so we've got the conscious mind and the subconscious mind.
yeah,
Now, what's interesting is the subconscious mind doesn't understand what's real and what isn't. It
Yeah.
just knows what you tell it.
Yeah.
So once you tell your subconscious mind something enough, and people subconsciously tell themselves that their life is worse than it is, and
Yeah.
then it becomes worse. So if you tell yourself subconsciously that you are confident, for example, within, like you said, 21 days or however long it is, your subconscious mind starts to believe it,
Yeah.
providing that you've said it believably.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I remember once, and I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before, but I've told this story to quite a lot of people. When I was cutting hair on my first barber job, I was cutting this kid's hair, and I'll never forget it. This kid must have been about 5, and his mum's sitting in the waiting area with the girl that I used to work with, and it's just me and this kid sitting in the shop. And I'm asking him about his day, and he was telling me that he was playing football at school. And I says to him, are you any good? And he was like, I'm okay, but my friend Josh is better. I was like, right. And then I'd ask him stuff about himself with the football.
Yeah.
And he'd keep going back to the fact that Josh was better than he was, and everybody passes the ball to Josh and Josh scores. And I started getting a bit wound up, even though it was only 5.
No.
I was like, look, I says, what I want you to do from now on is tell yourself you're the man, right? I says to him, every time you look in the mirror, say to yourself, I'm the man. When you brush your teeth, say to yourself, I'm the man. And when you play football, you get the ball, forget Josh, you keep that ball, you start running with that ball, you keep telling yourself that I'm the man. And I just felt this kid's confidence was just growing in the space of 15, 20 minutes of cutting his hair. And it's just one of them things where if you can make people believe that they have the power to change themselves, you know, they'll skyrocket after that. But
that's where the power is. We're so conditioned to society, and as children, growing up, our parents will tell us, that's not realistic, this and that. Like, my family always take the myth out of me because I'm always like, I'm gonna have this mansion, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and they call me a phantasmani in Greek, so they say I fantasize a lot. But that's conditioned me. So as a child, I'd think, oh, well, I can't do that. And I think because they've grew up working in a certain way, the things that we want to do, they might do. I mean, a lot of my family didn't go to university. Like, my mum still doesn't get it to now. She'll be like, well, why have you got this loan? Why have you got this student loan and stuff? Because it doesn't make sense to them, and she'll try and put me down. And I've had to try and come away from that, because I know she doesn't mean it in a bad way. It's just I've been brought up with tough love, and that's the way that I've been brought up. But as a child, to hear those things, it is hard, and we condition children. Whereas if when I was in school, I knew the things that I knew that now, I feel like my grades weren't bad, but I feel like I could have done better, and I would be in a different place right now. Whereas our upbringings, because a lot of parents don't tell their children to love themselves and stuff. Because when we get upset, a lot of us just get tough love, and they're like, man up, like, why are you like that? Whereas it's important to teach children that they need to love themselves, because ultimately they're the only ones that matter within their own life. And if we did that, it would stop a lot of bullying, I think, and a lot of jealousy and things, because we're too focused on what other people are doing rather than what we're doing and where we're going in life.
I think that it's interesting because obviously, being of the same culture, I was raised similarly to you in that sense, and it's, you can't really blame the parents because the parents didn't even understand what we're talking about now, right? And it was probably when I got to high school, I realized that the things that I always believed I couldn't do wasn't true. You know, if I could figure it out. I could do it. Why shouldn't I be able to do what I want to do
Yeah.
when other people can do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I realized that with kids, it's absolutely necessary to always uplift them and give them like positive reinforcements. And like you said, they won't be victims of bullying because the confidence that they'll have will be able to fight that off. Whereas if you believe that you're not good at things and then some kid at school also tells you, you already believe it anyway.
Exactly. And then a lot of people get jealous as kids, like someone might have the latest game or something, and then they'll all pick on that one person, or they'll think that person is stuck up and stuff, and it comes from a place of jealousy because we're not looking what's within us. And one thing I teach my clients is everyone else is just a reflection of us. The way we perceive ourselves, other people will perceive us. That's why it's so important to love yourself, because if you don't love yourself, nobody else is going to love you. If you don't treat yourself right, then no one else is going to treat you. And it's one of the things that I learned within my relationship as well. When I felt I was getting neglected by that person, well, was I taking care of myself? Was I giving myself the attention I needed? I wasn't. So how can I be angry at that person for not giving me something that I'm not giving myself?
Right. I'm a firm believer in whenever you're around anywhere, you should command respect. And that doesn't mean command it like, give it me now. What that means is that I'm worthy of it. I believe it myself. I
Yeah.
respect myself. And if you don't want to respect me, what you'll see through the way that I carry myself is I won't tolerate it from you.
Yeah,
So you either respect me or you leave me alone.
exactly.
And so what you'll find is the people that then are around you will respect you. And if they don't respect you, they won't be around you anymore.
Yeah,
Whereas a lot of people, because they're so insecure in themselves, they want to find weaknesses in other people to pull them down as well.
yeah.
But if somebody looks at me and thinks, oh shit, this is a guy I'm not going to be able to pull down, they're not going to bother trying, you know?
Yeah, it's because you're not allowing it. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that people will be like, well, this happened, well, that happened, but what did you do to stop it? Someone called me this, someone called me that, but you're allowing it to affect you. You need to block that person out, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and be like, we attract everything and we allow everything, because there is bad in the world and there is good in the world, but
Right.
that's what gives us balance. But at the end of the day, we can control our own lives, and if everyone focused on themselves, the world would be a totally different place. But we're so conditioned that we need to have power, we need this, we need that, that it never works.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are constantly in a life of drama. There's
Yeah,
so many people that will go from one dramatic friendship to a bad relationship to another bad friendship.
yeah,
And it is because of the way that they are. Because for me, a lot of the times I think, especially when I'm in the barbershop and people are telling me stories, and I think, fucking hell, my life's quite easy, it's straightforward. And the reason is because I won't tolerate people's shit.
yeah,
So if this is the kind of person I don't want around, I'm not gonna allow that to
yeah,
continue. But so many people don't understand that, and they get caught up in the spider web,
yeah.
and then they feel like life is bad because everything that they go through is bad, but ultimately they're the ones to blame for it.
Yeah. Change happens within you, and it's all
Right.
within, and it starts inside you. It's like if you look at yourself and you don't feel good within yourself, and you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm ugly, nothing else is going to change that. It's the way you feel within. As a female as well, growing up, I used to wear a lot of makeup and stuff, but it was always for the wrong reasons. It was to cover up this, cover up that, and it wasn't because I enjoyed doing my makeup or because I wanted to wear it. Whereas now I wear makeup because I enjoy doing it. When I sit and do my makeup, that's self-care to me. Like, I'm
Right.
pampering myself, I'm making myself feel good, but I can still wear all the makeup in the world, change whatever I want on my face, and if I don't feel good within, I'm still going to look in that mirror and think, oh, I'm ugly, I'm not good enough.
Exactly.
Because if you don't see your worth, nobody else is, and this is where we keep putting other people on pedestals. And one thing I also teach with the law of attraction is you live in this life on your own. You have a connection with you and yourself. Everything else comes within that. If you've got that connection solid and you've done all the healing that you need to do and you're doing all the self-love that you need to do for you, then everything else will come. There's no reason why it shouldn't.
Right. I'm a big believer in everything. If you've got the right state of mind, whatever's meant to be in your life is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to feel like you are worth a good life, and there's no point of beating yourself up about whatever's happened in the past or whatever's going on now, because the world is hard enough to get through without you beating yourself up on top.
Exactly.
Andrea, for people that are listening that might feel a bit lost, what advice would you give them?
I'd say sit down with yourself and ask yourself how you feel and what it is that you want through life, because if you can't identify what you're currently feeling and why you're currently stuck or feeling low, then you're not going to be able to move past that. And I know a lot of people struggle to sit with their thoughts, but the way you'll sit and speak to somebody else and the way you'll sit and tell yourself, it's going to be two different things. So the easiest thing that I've found to do is sit down and literally write out your thoughts so you can see them there and what you're feeling. Then from that, feel that emotion. Don't suppress it, don't put it to the side. It's so important to feel pain, and a lot of people think if I cry, if I do this, I'm going to be less of a man, or I'm not going to be strong, or it makes me this, it makes me that. It doesn't. That emotion will sit with you until you eventually explode. So it's so important to just feel it. And we act on emotions so much that if I'm feeling anxious now, if I'm feeling angry, if I'm upset, I literally sit with myself and I'll cry, I'll get angry, I'll do what I need to do before I act on a situation, because me being calm and me being in that emotion, we're two totally different people.
Right.
And then from that, you can create your own affirmations. If you're low because you don't feel like you're good enough, get up every morning and look at yourself and say, you're good enough. One thing I found within myself is that I complain about things a lot. Everybody who knows me will know I'm a bit of a moaner.
Right.
And it's not a good thing. Like, people laugh and joke about it, but it's like you said, the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real, doesn't know what's fake. So me constantly moaning, it's not me being grateful for where I currently am and what I've got. So for me personally, I wake up every morning and I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for, and then before I go to bed, I tell myself the best thing that happened in my day that day and why I'm grateful for it. And
Right.
it really helped me mentally, because we can't always be negative, we can't always be positive, but if we accept things and we're grateful and we show love, then that's what we'll receive.
Exactly. I think that so many people are stuck on what they haven't got as opposed to what they have got. And there's a lot of people that will think they don't have much. But
Yeah.
if you compare it to so many other people in the world, we've got a lot, you know. I remember telling some customers of mine in the past, when they've told me that their girlfriend or their wife or something has split up with them. And I just say to them, it's all right to be sad about it, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of them are embarrassed to tell their friends because they don't want to seem weak. And I just say to them, look, if you need to cry about it, whatever you've got to do, just do it for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and
Yeah.
then get up and get over it. But don't dwell on it forever. Don't be a victim to it, but let it out. Don't be scared to let it out, you know.
if you can't let it out, it's never going to escape your system. It's going to be on your mind constantly, and then that's how a lot of people develop depression and anxiety as well, because I'm someone who suffers with anxiety, and I've had depression in the past, and I've had to take medication and stuff for that, and it's something that will always be there because mental health never goes away, but it's something that I've been able to control over the years just by looking after myself that little bit more and not putting as much pressure on the external world.
Right. Okay. Well, I think that we've given people a good understanding in what's going on. And before we wrap up, I normally ask my guests to give me their 18-year-old self advice, if they could have that sit down with themselves. But it wasn't that long ago that you were 18. Because I like to kind of go off topic a little bit for the sake of easing the episode out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to ask you that because it was only 4 years ago. Tell me a pet hate of yours.
A pet hate of mine. I don't know if it's a man thing. But
a man thing?
Yeah, because there's a thing that men do when they come to my house or at home where they'll take the toilet roll off the holder, do whatever they're doing in the toilet, and then leave it on the side or on the floor rather than putting it back on, and it gets me so mad. I'm so OCD.
Yeah, that's an OCD thing, yeah.
I'm just like, why though? But a lot of my friends say their brothers do it and stuff, and it's just like...
I don't know, I just put something back where I found it.
That's the logic behind it, but a lot of men don't. It's only men that I see do it, and it gets me so angry.
That's funny. All right, the last thing, you're on a long drive on your own and you're chilling. What are you listening to?
Oh, I don't know. It depends what mood I'm in. If I'm happy, probably like old school R&B, because that's my favourite.
Okay.
In my feelings, I'm obsessed with Kalani and Gene Aker. Okay.
Right. Right. Hopefully you're not in your feelings as much though, yeah?
No.
Right. Well, everyone who tuned in, thanks for your time. Andrea, I appreciate your time also, and I respect what you're doing, and I hope that more people will reach out to you if they need to, because we need people to uplift others, because there's so many people that are so in themselves and that are unaware of what is so obvious to us now. So yeah, keep inspiring, and I wish you luck with that. Guys, mine and Andrea's social media links will be attached. Feel free to reach out to us. We appreciate everybody who supports. Follow our accounts and share them, please. We want to impact as many people as we can, so for anybody that can share this, helps us both. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. The podcast is also on Spotify and iTunes. My name is Nicolaou, Andria Andreou in the chair with the barber. Stay tuned and you'll see me soon. Yeah.